So today we're looking at phrasal verbs with the participle for, with the preposition, for. So we'll start by looking at called for, and unfortunately call for has 3 different meanings, at least, probably more. If you call for a friend, you might pop over to their house, you might drop by and see them, you pay them a flying visit, you call for them. I always used this expression when I was a kid, and I called for my friends, I knocked for my friends. That meant I went to the door and I knocked on the doorbell and asked if they wanted to come out and play. So you can call for someone, like drop by. You can also call for someone, like summon them. If you shout out, "Oi, Tom, come here," that means you're calling for Tom. So it could mean summon. And lastly, a very common use for call for, especially in the newspapers, so it's quite a neutral phrasal verb. It means demand. So if you say there are voices in the media who are calling for, I don't know, the abolition of the right to carry arms or something like that, that means they're demanding the abolition of that law. So yeah, demand is also another meaning of call for, and this is very similar to cry out for. You can cry out for something in the literal sense, which just means scream out or cry out for help. Maybe if you're shouting help, help, you might be crying out for help. But you can also use this more metaphorically in a very similar sense to demand, but it's really demand. So if you say something like, the problems in the inner city are crying out for funding, or something like that, it means they really need funding. These problems absolutely require funding. So it can be used in a more metaphorical sense as well. Now, pass for is very similar to take someone for and mistake someone for. If you say pass for means that you can actually manage to resemble someone. So you might use it like this. You might say that perhaps you know someone who's a teenager, they're 16, and they want to pass for 18. They want to look like they're 18. Maybe they want to go to a nightclub or something like that. And you might give them advice about how to pass for 18. So it means to look like someone or something. You might also say, wearing those clothes, you could pass for a Frenchman if you think that person looks particularly French in those clothes. And so it means to look like someone, to pass for someone. If you take someone for, then you believe them to be a type of person. So we often say, "What do you take me for?" And it means, what kind of man do you think I am? What do you take me for? What kind of man do you think I am? Or you might use take someone for like this. Maybe you are sleeping and in the middle of the night you hear what's a strange noise, and somebody's coming into the house. You get scared and you take them for a burglar. But in the end, it's got a happy ending, this story, and they're not a burglar. But at first you took them for a burglar. You perceived them to be a burglar. You could also say you mistook them for a burglar, and it would be exactly the same. So take someone for, it's not necessarily a mistake. Yeah, you might take someone for a burglar and then they end up being a burglar. But if you mistake someone for a burglar, well then you perceive them to be a burglar, but you're wrong. So that one doesn't have to be wrong. And that's why we say, who do you take me for? Yeah, what kind of person do you think I am? So I think all 3 of those are quite similar. Now, settle for is very different. It's very similar to the phrase make do with, a different phrasal verb. In fact, they're synonymous. Now, if you settle for something, it means you're content with it, even though it's perhaps not a fantastic option. So maybe you haven't got much money. Maybe you go to a restaurant, you're hungry, but you haven't got much money. So instead of having the most expensive thing on the menu, you settle for a plate of chips or something like that, or a cheap salad. You make do with a cheap salad. Okay, so it's be content with something which is perhaps not the best option. If you feel for someone, then you sympathise with that person. And so you can say, I feel for you, and it means I sympathise with you. Really quite common. If you make for somewhere, then you simply run towards that place. It's a bit like make off with or make away with, two other phrasal verbs with make. But make for means run to. So it's not make away or make off. It's run to. So make for, very similar to run to. I'll quickly put that here. Stand in for, it means substitute. It means you fill in for. There's another one which has just come to me. It means you fill in for another person. It means you take their place. You substitute them. So maybe somebody is away from your company. They're not at work at the moment, and you have to stand in for them. You have to do their job. You have to fill in for them. You have to do their duties. Okay, so just substitute for that one. Quite clear, I think. Be in for, it could mean somebody is in prison for something. So you might say he is in for armed robbery. That would mean he's in prison for armed robbery because he committed armed robbery. But you can also use this be in for in the predictive sense, and it means we can anticipate, we can expect. So if I say we are in for some terrible weather this weekend, that means we can expect some terrible weather this weekend. So it's also used for predictions, be in for. Very common. Okay, vote for, I think everybody understands. It's not really a phrasal verb, it's more the verb and preposition, really. Well, vote for I've put here with root for, which means support. Yeah, support. And I think for is very often support, because these are very similar to support. And this is because when you are for something, it means you are in favour of it. You are in favour of it. You support it. Yeah, if you say, I am for equal rights. So to be for, it's to be in favour of. It's the opposite of to be against. Yeah, exactly the opposite to be against. For and against. And very similar to side with. Yeah, side can be a verb, to side with. That's another phrasal verb which we'll look at in future. Okay, if something can account for your whereabouts, it can explain your whereabouts. If something can account for your absence, it can explain your absence. So this just means explain, and I think that's more like a verb and preposition. Vouch for is when you guarantee someone. If you vouch for your friend, it means you guarantee that they are a good person, perhaps that they're trustworthy or reliable. You vouch for them. So if somebody vouches for you, they support you again. They're in favour of you. They're giving a guarantee in favour of you. If you speak for someone, you speak on behalf of them. Maybe they're not present, and so you say, I can speak on behalf of my brother, because he's not here at the moment, so I would like to speak for him, and it means to speak on behalf of him. So there are lots of different situations where you might speak for someone simply because they're not there. Okay, if you stick up for someone or stand up for someone, including yourself, you can stand up for yourself and stick up for yourself. It means that you try to defend that person against some kind of attack. It could just be a verbal attack. It doesn't need to be a physical attack, but you stand or stick up for that person. You support them. You are in favour of them, and you support them in some kind of way. So again, we've got support and in favour of. And if you stand for something, this could mean three different things. We could say that the letters in an acronym stand for the following. So we could say CIA stands for Central Intelligence Agency, or UK stands for United Kingdom. So it can mean symbolise. It can also mean tolerate, like put up with. I can't put up with his behaviour. I will not stand for his behaviour. Yeah, I will not tolerate his behaviour. So I won't stand for this means I won't tolerate this, I won't put up with this. That's quite common as well. And lastly, it means in favour of, especially for politicians or candidates. You might say this candidate stands for raising taxes, yeah, or something like that. And it means they are in favour of So again, we've got in favour of and support. Now, I hope that's all clear. Please ask any questions under the video, as always, if you have questions about these phrasal verbs. But please do look in a dictionary, as always. If you do want some more examples, there are loads in the online dictionaries, and they're just a click away. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all soon.